Hello, so today I'm going to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. I went and saw it opening night because I felt like I owed my 14-year-old self who stood in the rain for 6 hours to see Clone Wars. I needed to see it at opening night, so I did it. Okay, and so here's the rub. Congratulations, Disney, you ruined Star Wars! All I can say is this is what happens when godless people think they know the ways of the Force. So first off, Palpatine can't be alive. Well, I won't say can't, but if he is still alive, then Darth Vader would still be alive. Vader only died because Palpatine was dead. So bringing him back, once again, just completely negates everything the original trilogy was and is. You can't do that. Now, I probably should explain why this is, why Vader's life was so tied to Palpatine's, and this is where the nitty-gritty comes in. So the reason Darth Vader went to the dark side is because he was told by Palpatine in that weird, awkward opera scene in Revenge of the Sith that the Sith had the power to stop people from dying. The power that Anakin so desperately needed because he had started to have visions of Padme dying. The same type of visions he had been having about his mother dying before she died, which came absolutely true. So he knew without a doubt that Padme was going to die. And he told Palpatine about this and his fear. And Palpatine, because he had been grooming Anakin for 15 years now, told him this story of the Sith stopping death. So he planted that seed knowing that this was his key to bring Anakin to the dark side. So Palpatine then waited until the only other person Anakin trusted, Obi-Wan, was halfway across the galaxy, and he waited till that moment to reveal himself as a Sith Lord and said, "Come with me, I can tell you how to save Padme." And this is the reason why Anakin kills Mace Windu, because he cannot risk not having this information. He can't risk Mace Windu killing Palpatine. He has to save Padme. It's ultimately his love for Padme that turns Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. So, in a lot of ways, the Jedi were completely right in forbidding attachment, in seeing the danger in it. Anakin is proof of that. So, it is the great paradox of the Force and the Sith power that they have the knowledge to save other people from dying, but not themselves. And Jedi, true Jedi, second order Jedi, do not have this power because they don't fear death the way that the Sith do. They believe in becoming one with the Force. Seeing how Anakin went to the dark side, and I think with a little help from Qui-Gon, they discover this truth. The whole vanishing thing, that's second order after Anakin turns Jedi stuff. Jedi did not do that before. They just died. Like, Qui-Gon died. He didn't disappear. He's just dead. Anyway, getting even more sidetracked. That isn't the point. The point of all of this is that Anakin does die, or at least come as close to dying on Mustafar as he possibly can. And Palpatine brings him back to life. Or at least he stops that charred piece of flesh from actually dying. Either way, he is sustaining his life throughout the reign of the Empire. Palpatine and Darth Vader's life forces are connected because that's what the Sith can do. So when Darth Vader kills him, he essentially kills himself too. I know there are a lot of other theories that explain this differently, but this is the Star Wars according to me, so take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter. This also brings to light a very important point that I don't believe can be denied. And that is that the Force, according to episodes 1 through 6, does not have life-giving powers. Or, in other words, it does not have regenerative powers like it does in this movie, apparently. The dark side can stop death, which Palpatine did, but it didn't heal Vader. Technology and who knows what else gave Darth Vader his ability to live. But like I said before, Palpatine was his sustaining life force. And I know that they explain that ridiculousness away by saying Kylo and Rey are connected by some dual force that doesn't make any sense, but managed to magically give them super, super limitless power. Or maybe they're claiming Leia was able to give Ben her life force. Maybe that is what was happening. But here's the thing. How? Sure, they come from strong Force families and all that crap, but Anakin was literally born of the Force. He was the most Force-connected individual to ever exist. Physically, no one can or should be able to have a greater control or grip on the Force than him, than Anakin Skywalker. He was the chosen one! And despite that, he was not capable of saving his mom. So I'm pretty sure if Jedi had healing powers, not just those men, but the women and the children too, wouldn't have needed to die. Because he would have saved his mom. And he also wouldn't have had that all-consuming fear of Padme dying, which directly led to his transition. You didn't just ruin Star Wars, you ruined Darth Vader. So, there was a lot of time spent in the prequels and originals setting limits on the Force, and this movie just completely blasted them away to where nothing makes sense anymore, and there's no rhyme or reason to any of the Force powers that are manifesting all over the place. If Jedi can heal, if they have no reason to fear death because they can save each other on their own from it, then the dark side can never win and has absolutely no draw. The whole point of the Jedi Order is to overcome that fear of dying and transcend death. That's what's happening when they disappear. They're giving into the Force. They're letting the will of the Force consume them. They know that the only true thing to really fear is losing themselves and going to the dark side. Death is not their enemy. This is where my godless observation comes in. Jedi are supposed to have the faith to not be healed, so they don't need the power to heal. I know you can argue that maybe just the Force can heal non-mortal wounds, or you can only transfer life force or something, but then in that case, Rey would have died saving Ben, or I guess Leia, I guess she actually did die saving him. So maybe all that does make a little bit of sense, but I still hold that Jedi shouldn't have healing powers. Death is the will of the Force, and Jedi are supposed to be completely okay with that. It's the Sith who are trying to deny that will, who look at the Force as simply a source of power. It just doesn't mesh. I know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to blame all these miraculous healing powers on this non-existent dual Force thing that is supposed to exist between Kylo and Rey. This link that we are all supposed to understand and accept, yeah, I ain't buying that. It's the exact same problem I had with Twilight. She used vampires to get to super powers that would miraculously solve all their problems, and they've done the exact same thing here. Don't use the Force as a magical gateway to get to unrestrained and limitless superpowers. The Force has limits, and you just shattered them. And by shattering them, you shattered everything that is Star Wars. Now, no one else matters, because Rey can apparently destroy the galaxy with the snap of her fingers if she felt like it. Oh, and Sith Lords can never die, and they have secret languages and secret planets and secret fleets of magical Star Destroyers that have the power of the Death Star. Do you realize how ridiculous this all sounds? Do you know how long it took to develop the first Death Star? In roughly the same amount of time they built one Death Star, you're suggesting the resources to build Starkiller Base and limitless planet-destroying Star Destroyers? You're saying that they were capable of doing that. Palpatine's plans are becoming more and more far-fetched as things go on. And I'm really supposed to believe that he knew exactly who Rey was this entire time. Yeah. Again, I ain't buying it. I will say one thing. I did like this movie that there was one thing in this movie that held true to my understanding of the Force. And that is that Ben saved Rey. Because he knew the ways of the Sith and the Jedi, so he theoretically had the knowledge to both sides and therefore could transcend and stop death simultaneously. So that was actually pretty cool. Whether or not they actually realized that that is what he was doing remains to be seen, but I did like it. It did jive with what I know the capabilities of the Force are. So back to Rey being too powerful and therefore negating the need for anyone else to exist in this movie. That was annoying. I am glad, however, that they finally made it clear that other people and planets actually exist in this galaxy, and this whole "we're all alone" garbage is in fact garbage, like for real. Did destroying the Empire really do so little? Because, again, thanks for ruining the trilogy. That's depressing. But you finally brought out some backup, so that was good. Thank you for that. Other things I didn't hate, I already kind of mentioned it, but I did like the Kylo and Rey arc story thing. This redemption, his redemption, her temptation. I thought their relationship, aside from the two super Force powers, was well developed and well executed, and I didn't mind the kiss throughout this whole thing. Kylo was the only one who was truly Rey's equal. It's not like she could have run away with Finn or Poe. So it fit for me, and I liked it. And I thought all the other characters were well played out, and JJ did what he does best and let the characters shine, and reminded me why I fell in love with them in the first place. One thing I was hoping to get a little more from Finn. I feel like it was heavily alluded to that he could sense the Force. And then with the other First Order deserters, I kind of expected them to come out and say that they resisted because they feel the Force and therefore have the potential to be Jedi. Which, maybe it's okay they didn't spell it out and come out and say it, but I'd like to know if my hunch there is accurate, because that is definitely the vibe I got. All in all, Palpatine should not have been in this movie. And by allowing him to come back from the dead, you shattered one too many Force windows and forever disjointed yourself from being a true Star Wars story. I think. That being said, considering the fact that most of these issues were seated in episodes 7 and 8, I do think episode 9 was as good as it could have been. So I'll just leave you on that, and later talkies. Bye.